Hi, Terry.
Good morning, Rotarians in District 5100. We're excited to have an opportunity to join with you this morning to talk about vibrant clubs and how we can make a difference in our clubs. Before we get going, though, I would like to introduce Steve Williams, who is checking in from the Hermiston chapter. District Governor Steve, welcome this morning.
Good morning. Make sure it's unmuted. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here this Saturday morning, and thank you especially to Gary and the Learning and Development Committee, all the work you put into preparing for this event. This is our third Vibrant Club training, and the first two were done totally involved with COVID restrictions. We're excited that this format this year allows us to gather together in person to share ideas and to grow and to work to make our clubs vibrant, keep our clubs vibrant. So thank you, each one that is here, each of the presenters. Thank you for being here and sharing and helping provide information for each of us to grow and to learn. Thank you all. Enjoy the day. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. And Steve is checking in from his pod in Hermiston. We have pods all over the district right now with folks gathering to come together. And our goal for this is a couple of things. We wanted you to have the opportunity to actually meet with people and talk with people versus doing things just virtually. And by doing this in a pod group, what we're able to do is reduce the travel time, yet still give you the fellowship that takes place. And when we look at the word cloud that you folks had put together with Slido earlier on, fellowship was right at the center, one of the key pieces of why we are in Rotary and what's your club doing best at. You'll also note that there's community service and youth exchange coming on really high. All of these tie together in kind of a three-legged stool of activity that we're going to be focusing on today, being membership, the Rotary Foundation, and public image. How do all of these elements tie together so that we can have a vibrant club? And that's going to be our focus today. So want to do a little bit of housekeeping with you, talking about some of the things that we will be doing. We ask that you pin the district office in your Zoom, as in up in the upper right corner when you pick the view that says speaker. Then that will have the district office information that's coming to you primarily on your screen. Also related to Zoom, we're asking that each of the pods collect responses in the chat during the breakouts. This is an opportunity for you to answer the questions and list the information that comes out of your discussions that we will then be able to capture for everybody else to see. Also, as for Slido, what an amazing job you have already done by picking up the instructions and answering the polls and so on. We will be using Slido throughout the presentations. so that we can ask you questions, you can respond. You can also do a thumbs up on giving us an idea of whether you agree with something and to be able to rate things. Zoom chat and the Slido Q&A responses will be monitored, and we will answer those comments as we can during the day. If not, we will make sure that we have answers after the workshop that we will then be sending to you. Everybody who is participating in this particular workshop will be getting information followed up from our conversations today. We will also have breakout rooms during the presentations, and this will be the opportunity for you to, in person, if you're in the pod locations, to have discussion with your fellow Rotarians to answer questions that are coming along. And we will have breaks between the hour-long sessions. This will be a 10-minute break, actually 8 minutes, followed by a 2-minute video that will be going into each of those sessions to get you set up. So that's where we're going for this morning. Wanted to mention a couple of other things. First, we are trying new methods to deliver information to you in a way that is helpful and usable. And we would really like you to be able to complete the survey that you will receive at about 12:30. As soon as the sessions are over, DACDB will be sending you an email survey that we would really ask that you complete, because this gives us, as the committee and throughout the district, guidance as to how do we best serve you, because we at the district level are here to serve you in your clubs and as individuals. It's a sign of servant leadership, and I know that District Governor Steve has made this a high priority for how we are operating together this year. So we have an exciting day planned for you, and to get things going, Brandon, we have a video to play, and from that we will start and then come out and I will introduce our first speaker.
We are people of action.
And when there's a challenge to confront, people of action come together and make a plan.
Even as we continue to help address global challenges, we're facing one of our own. When Rotary surveyed people around the world, we found a big gap between who we are as an organization today and who we need and want to be.
Our foundation is strong, but Rotary is ready to show that we can grow and become even stronger.
So we established our new action plan as a roadmap for how we can think differently, be more inclusive, and become a stronger, more effective Rotary.
The plan has 4 priorities. We're going to increase our impact because now more than ever, the world needs innovative planning and proved solutions. We'll be more data-driven, not just serving communities and doing good works, but measuring what we do so we can scale up our successes. And share more compelling stories about the good we do.
We will expand our reach by welcoming new people into Rotary and finding new ways to connect with people who share our commitment to making our communities and ourselves better. We'll enhance participant engagement by making sure everyone who connects with us gets even more out of their experiences than they put in.
And we'll increase our ability to adapt, because staying ahead of change while staying true to who we are is exactly how we make sure we have the staying power it takes to lead a new century of change.
Rotary's action plan is ambitious, but we can do it.
If we work together on new ways to think, plan, and take action, we will bring our communities and our organization to new heights.
Our legacy is in the making. Ready to do your part?
Let's show the world what it means to be people of action.
If we all work together and we plan, what a difference we can make in the world. And as we get going, I want to introduce to you who are the presenters that we have for, well, let's see, I got to get my slide back. There we go. Come on. There we go. Don't touch the button, he says. So we've already heard from District Governor Steve, and I really appreciate Steve checking in with us from Hermiston. And I'm Gary Stewart, chairing the Leadership and Development Committee this year. In the past, this used to be known as the district trainer role, but it's really learning and development that we are focused on. Also with us today, we have Julie Fugate, who is the membership co-chair. She will be our first presenter, and she's working with Past District Governor Danielle Banks, and they will be doing the session on membership. Past District Governor Renee Campbell will be joining us also shortly. She will be doing the session on the Rotary Foundation, and Renee Fontenot will be handling public image. And the master behind the scenes with all of the technology and making all of this amazing experience work is Brandon Peterson. So let's get started. Julie, I'm looking forward to hearing all about membership and all of the exciting new things that the district is working on. So come on in, and here's the clicker.
I do have my microphone on. Can you hear me, Brandon? Awesome. Hi, I'm Julie Fugate. I'm going to advance the slide here. There we go. I'm Julie Fugate. I am co-presenter with PDG Danielle Banks today. And here's a list of our membership committee. Dennis Long is my district membership committee co-chair. We're really excited to bring the membership portion to you today. So let's talk a little bit about membership. Let's get right into this. So some quick housekeeping. You're going to need your membership goal setting worksheet report that was sent by email, and you're going to need your club action plan that was also sent by email. So if you don't have those with you, your pod facilitators should have some extra copies. And I actually sent along an Amarillo, Texas report, so nobody could get picked on, for you to use if you didn't bring your own clubs. So once you have those, you should be all set to go. So let's talk a little bit about why grow membership. So every time someone from the district comes to your club, they always talk about membership and how important it is and how you need to grow it. But honestly, what I've observed, what we've observed in the membership club is that some clubs may have some resistance to this. They're thinking, we're fine. We have a great club. We have a good culture. Why should we rock the boat? Why would we want to bring in a bunch of new people that sort of change the dynamics of our club? But I'm going to challenge you to think bigger. So imagine if you were to add 10 new members to your club. Imagine the impact those people could have. Imagine if they became your new best friend. Maybe they are fundraising superstars. Maybe they have connections for a great service project. Perhaps they are a spark plug for your club that really fires everyone up and sort of gets everyone re-engaged. Maybe they are tremendous leaders and want to step up into leadership for your club. And they can take your club to a whole new level. The possibilities really truly are endless if you expand your thinking about what new members can bring to you. So what I'm going to do now is kind of talk a little bit about what would happen if we were to expand our membership district-wide by 10%. That would mean over 300 new members in our district. Imagine the impact on the Rotary Foundation and the dollars that might go to the foundation and then come back to our district as grants. Imagine the public image impact of that. 300 more people out there talking about Rotary and loving Rotary. Imagine the friendships and goodwill that could be generated. That is such an amazing positive impact. And by the way, going back to that reluctance, if someone has taken the time to visit your club multiple times and then has expressed interest in joining and then joins your club, I promise they will fit in because they've gotten to know your club. They know your club's personality. So we can get over that hump of, are they going to fit in? So now I'd like to turn it over to Danielle Banks, who is going to take us into our first breakout session. Danielle, come on up.
Oh, I don't need that. Need to move this way. So good morning, everyone. I wish I could see you, but we here would like to know what you're thinking. And for this breakout session, we want to ask the following question. What is just one way that new members can positively impact your Rotary Club? What is a way that new members can positively impact a Rotary Club? So take maybe 5-6 minutes and everyone put your answers in Slido, and we'll talk about the ideas that come up on the screen.
So we had a request here for Slido. If you go to slido.com, SLIDO.com, you'll be prompted to enter our event code. And that event code is 2621437. Again, 2621437. And the pod host should have that printed out. So far we got about 70 responses in, which is looking pretty good. For those of you that are attending in a pod, can you change your Zoom name to your pod name? And if you are individual, please put -remote or in parentheses remote so we know to pull you out on the next breakout. The denoting that you're remote is a part of your Zoom name, so we know who on Zoom is not in a pod.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, in just a moment, you're going to be able to see what the Slido results are. Amazing, isn't it? So many of you thought that new ideas was the big positive impact that a new member could provide for your club. And look, ideas are still coming in. I would encourage you to even carefully read those ideas that have come in, those ways that we can positively impact our clubs with new members. I would encourage you to even read those words in smaller print. Sometimes an old idea is a great new idea, and sometimes only a few people think about a particular idea. But look here, enthusiasm, of course, diversity, but definitely. And we want to bring more diverse populations to our clubs. We want to mirror our communities. And look, energy, new skills, fresh ideas, and as always, more hands to do work. Julie?
Okay, we're back. Let's see. Figuring out where to stand on this thing is always a little challenging because everything's backwards. All right, so we had a great breakout recap. Thanks, Danielle, appreciate that. And gosh, everybody, thanks for participating in that. So now the next step in the process, obviously, you can see the value of bringing new members into your club. So let's make a plan. So this membership goal setting report that everyone was sent by email. Now, again, if you did not receive it, you can email me. I'll have my email address at the end. And you can also just use someone else's, or your, again, pod coordinator should have some extra reports for you. But you'll see at the top of this report, there are attrition numbers. Excuse me, that's how many people you on average lose each year. You'll see your attraction rate, which is how many people you bring into the club each year. And then there is a net growth rate. Now, all you do to get that net is subtract the lower number from the higher number. And if on your report, your lines and numbers are red, that means you are losing more people than you are bringing in. If your lines are blue, that means you are bringing in more people than you are losing. And those percentages, of course, are as a percentage of your overall club size, your overall club numbers. At the bottom of the report, you're going to see a bar graph with 5 years of membership numbers as of July 1st, which is very good information to look at the trend. What we've noticed is that there are a lot of clubs who think they're doing great, but what they don't realize is that those folks who they think are just not coming to meetings actually have left Rotary. So those numbers and that trend is really eye-opening for a lot of clubs. Up in the corner there are success targets, and those are just targets that the district and zone have set. And that is an attrition rate, so losing less than 15% of your club any given year, and your attraction rate being 5% above that, whatever that number is. So that's just a target. And then in the middle, on the right-hand side, you'll see there are some calculations you can make. One of those is it fills in automatically the number of people on average you lose each year. And you can start by seeing what your July number membership was. How many people would you like to get to? How many people is that total to attract to the club? Subtract how many you lose, and then you know how many people you actually have to recruit. So for example, if you want to add 10 people, but if you usually lose 5 people, then you're going to need to attract 15 people to the club in order to get a net of 10 people added to the club. The second part of this is to transfer that number goal to your club action plan, and then focus on those 3 elements of membership. One is attracting new members, one is onboarding new members, and one is engaging and retaining existing members. So let's break those down just a little bit and give you maybe just a couple ideas for doing each of those. So attracting new members, the first thing, the most important piece of attracting new members is you have to have a focused, intentional effort. Attracting members is not, I mean, you will get more members just wandering in, oh, I'd like to know more about Rotary, but if you have a focused, intentional effort, you are going to be much more successful to attracting new members to your club. So ask people, make a plan as a club, make a plan, have a bring a guest day. There's lots of different things you can do to create an intentional effort and a plan to attract new members to your club. Now, onboarding, some clubs have a really specific process and some don't, but it's a good idea to have a specific process. One of the reasons that we lose members is because expectations aren't met. So they come on thinking they're going to do a bunch of service projects, but your club is a check writing club and they give money and don't do a lot of service projects. So interviewing them as well as they interview you, that helps set expectations, and you understanding what their expectations are will help you have an idea of how to make sure that that new person in Rotary feels like they're part of the process. You can use a passport to success. Many clubs use a red badge to blue badge process. I know the Wilsonville Club has a great passport to success that they've put together that helps people kind of get engaged as they get started. So the key ingredient here is having a specific process that you use to onboard new members. Last is engage and retain. Now we all have what we call shadow members in our clubs. Those are folks who we haven't seen in a while. Those are folks we think are members, and maybe they actually still are members, but we haven't seen them. So I encourage you to reach out to them. Hey, George, we haven't seen you in a while. Why have you been coming to meetings? And make sure they know that they are missed and they're valued and you really want them to be part of your club. Another way to engage and retain is to have social and service events, things that get people excited, get people participating and acting like Rotarians, and then maybe mix up your meetings. So my club has a 5th Wednesday of the month that we're doing a happy hour instead of our regular lunch meeting. So those are just some ideas around engaging and retaining. So now I am going to turn it over to Danielle, and she's going to take us into our next breakout session. And just to remind you, I know Danielle will remind you of this, but the responses on this, please put into the Zoom chat section. So, Danielle. Carrie, you just put the breakout room up on the screen. Oh, there we go.
So, welcome back, everyone, to this portion of the breakout session. Well, Julie gave you some great ideas for knowing how to make a vibrant club. And as you formulate your action plan, you'll want to be using that action plan sheet. You know that Section 1 is to attract new members. Section 2 is coming up with a tactic to onboard. And Section 3 is to come up with a tactic to engage and retain members. So if you'll take out that form, write down those ideas that you want to recommend to your board of directors, that you want to recommend to your membership committee. And again, at least one tactic. I bet some of you could come up with 3. But at least one tactic in Section 1 to attract, one tactic in Section 2 to onboard, and one tactic in Section 3 to engage. Take just a couple of minutes to do that part of the exercise, and then share your ideas with everyone at your pod location. And for those of you who are scribes, you will want to gather all of that information together, put it in the pod Zoom chat box so that we can record it. And then within a few weeks, we will have collated all of the ideas and put it in a document that we will send back out to each of you. You know, if we want to have vibrant clubs, we will have well-oriented, well-engaged members, and they will bring more hands to do our humanitarian service. And when we do that, we will have more impactful stories to tell. And when that happens, we will be enhancing your club's image and Rotary's image, and we'll be able to tell more stories that will then attract additional new members. So now take a few minutes to share your ideas. Make sure you've captured on your planning sheet, your action sheet, what those tactics to attract, onboard, engage, and retain are going to be for your club. Thank you. 6 or
We have just about 2 minutes left. Please make sure you enter your scribe's response into the Zoom chat so we can read it here.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you've had a great discussion about an idea to attract, onboard, engage, and retain new members. You know, we had a question come in. What are some ways that clubs might attract younger professionals? So let me give you some ideas from around the district. First of all, younger professionals really have told us that they want hands-on experience. They want to be able to see the work and the accomplishment that they are doing out in the community. And it's primarily the local community, but then there are those who really want to go international. Some young professionals really are looking for mentors. They're looking for people that they can go to that could coach them a bit personally for how to succeed in their own business and also in the community as well. But they want to lead. Often they want to lead and have a title for leading an effort that clubs are unprepared for. But think about what can your club do maybe to develop a future leader. Wouldn't it be great if you had a lineup of people that wanted to be a committee chair, that you had people in line to be an officer of the club, or a board member of your nonprofit foundation if you have one, but a board member for your club's administrative policies. These folks want to learn, but they want to give. They want to give of their time. One of the things to think about, though, is not all young professionals have families, but a lot do. So you need to find out whether they are available at certain hours for doing service projects. Maybe if it's a Saturday project, then you asked them to offer some ideas where they could bring the family along with them. Another thought is that we sometimes make the mistake and assume that young professionals are just working their way up in an organization. I can't tell you how many young professionals in our district actually own their own organizations. That means that Rotary is competing with their time to manage their own firms, but it also means that they want to get the name of that firm out. And networking always is a way to help people feel comfortable. It's kind of that individual showcase that a lot of your clubs do when you introduce a new member to the club. So remember, when you want to attract folks, you also want to think about how you're going to onboard them. And onboarding can mean that if you think about having a professional development program for your new Rotarian young professionals, help them see that you can help them develop their leadership. Put a program together perhaps that allows them some leadership skills. Maybe it's a special program where your club, just for them in a committee, gives them a few dollars to do their own service project. Perhaps it's a development program where, like as a committee of young professionals that you bring in at one time, that they might also get to hear from leaders in the community, heads of those organizations that have been very successful already. So when you think about attracting young professionals, it's like with any other member, or maybe it's a customer or a client. You want to know what works best for them. You want to find out what their expectations are. You want to know what they want to accomplish in a particular period of time. And you want to know where they think they might fit in your Rotary Club. So onboard well, and then get them engaged immediately. Ask them to take on some small assignment, because that's how you get any member engaged, but especially for young professionals. Have them visit a committee or two. Have them, if you're just in the process of attracting them to your club, have them come and maybe bring their families to a service project before they even come to a club meeting. There are lots of ways to think about what young professionals want out of Rotary. But you saw community service. You saw that people like to have a positive impact through new ideas. Listen to them. Listen to their new ideas. May not fit what traditionally works in your club, but what may happen is that you get a new idea that you can tweak to fit into your Rotary Club. You can attract young professionals on board, engage and retain them with your stories. So remember, it's not as hard as you think it might be. Julie?
So Renee, we've gotten a lot of great responses via the Zoom chat, and I thought I'd point out a few of them and maybe you can comment. So in particular, really upping your game in terms of social media and what you have on there for your clubs, perhaps using multiple languages to attract some diversity and some differences in your club. Maybe you can comment on those two and I'll gather a couple more here.
Great. You know, one thing I thought of when you mentioned the idea of diversity, why not bring a speaker from an organization that most of you don't know about, from a diverse population, and then show them that warm, friendly, energized club that you have, and invite them to come back. Don't ask them to be a member right away, but invite them to come back together again. Let them know that you want to get to know them better. Let them know that you want them to get to know the members of your club better. And look at adding diversity to your club to mirror your community in that way. The other thing is that young professionals, it kind of occurs to me that young professionals want to meet these folks too. And so you're doing double duty when you invite, say, a speaker from a diverse background. Sometimes they're hilarious, and sometimes they just provide information. But either way, you and potential members have gained. Julie?
In the retain category, it looks like folks are very much on board with contacting those members they haven't seen in a while, and also perhaps inviting community and their families to come and participate in the service projects.
So for that one, I think one of the big decisions that a club has to make is to be intentional, as Julie has said. But intentionality with regard to contacting members that you haven't seen for a while could come in a number of ways. Sure, you can send that email saying, "Golly, Joe, I haven't seen you for a while. It would be great if you came to next week's meeting." A personal phone call works so much better. And I've had the experience that sometimes that personal phone call will net you information about why the individual hasn't been attending meetings. Maybe they have a health problem. Maybe they have a household member, a child or their spouse who has a health problem. And then that's where you gather around all the Rotarians in your club. Maybe you send a caregram. There are several clubs that have some good programs for helping keep those folks that are truly unable to come. If you have a hybrid club meeting, then encouraging someone who can't physically make it as easily, maybe somebody's had surgery and is using a wheelchair, so they could join you from Zoom. Maybe they just have to be encouraged or shown how to join you for Zoom. Julie?
I think we're set. Yeah, we've had just a lot of really great response via Zoom.
Great.
And we will be gathering all those pieces of information that everybody has sent in and make sure that everybody gets those. So I'm gonna pop back up here. So it's so much easier just sitting at the desk. So the next step then is what resources are available for you. So the zone has put together this membership resource guide, which we will be emailing to everyone who's participating in this event. This guide is a PDF with live hyperlinks within each of the sections that take you directly to the myrotary.com article or video or session that tells you all about it. And it talks about assessing your club, welcoming new members to your club, attracting members to your club, and also engaging members to your club. So we will make sure that gets out to everyone who has participated here in the workshop, and I'll also make sure that each of the club presidents get a copy of that. So in addition, just wanted to let you know, this is my contact information or Dennis Long, my co-chair's contact information. We want to thank you for your attention and for attending the Vibrant Club workshop today. And our next session will be the Rotary Foundation. But for now, we're just going to head into a 10-minute break. So we'll see y'all back in 10 minutes. Thank you.
As Rotary, we often ask ourselves, how do we grow? Personally, professionally, and organizationally? The answer is simple. To grow Rotary, we need more Rotary clubs. Let's use Anytown as an example. Anytown is a city of 100,000 people and home to one proud Rotary club. But there are hundreds of other people of action, just like us, who are uniquely qualified to become Rotary members. They share the same drive and represent the values and fundamentals of a Rotary member. So why aren't they members? Well, the current club meets on Monday. There are leaders in Anytown who can't meet on a Monday. By excluding this segment, the potential members in Anytown has shrunk. Now consider, what if the meeting is at noon on Monday? There are people who can meet on Monday, but can't meet at noon. So now we have a smaller audience for Rotary in Anytown. Of the remaining group, some aren't interested in a club with a sit-down lunch and speakers. They are passionate about service, but aren't interested in a traditional club experience. And that is okay. The Rotary Club of Anytown isn't doing anything wrong. It just doesn't appeal to particular segments of the community. And if we're going to thrive for years to come, we must adapt and embrace change. In Anytown, we have an opportunity to expand because potential members are everywhere. More than half of the eligible people are prospective Rotary members, waiting to make a bigger impact in their community. But what Rotary Club exists for them? If Anytown creates new clubs at new times and new places, the hidden potential for Rotary will be revealed. As people of action, we must broaden our reach and provide opportunities to all leaders in the community. Together, all of us can grow Rotary.
Hello Rotarians, I'm Renee Campbell from the Rotary Club of Salem, and I'm happy to be with you on this Saturday morning. My purpose here today is not to give a basic training on TRF. There are a lot of other opportunities for that kind of training. But what we are going to do is we're going to explore ways that we can strategically use our TRF stories to improve the engagement of our Rotary members and improve the Rotary experience, improve our projects, and also engage our community more in what we are doing and giving them the opportunity to participate with us. So this is the question that we're going to be discussing when we break into our pods. How can we share the stories of donations, donors to TRF, and donor recognition to help engage current members, expand our reach into our communities, and attract new members and partners, increasing our impact? District 5100 was #1 in the world in donations last year, until May, when we got passed up. But that made us #2 in the world. That's a big deal. District 5100 has been #1 in the world in Rotary direct donors for as long as I can remember. And those are Rotarians who make a donation every single month to the Rotary Foundation. We have 530 members that are Rotary direct donors. #2 district has less than half, 230. We have 226 Paul Harris Society members. Those are members that give $1,000 or more every single year to the Rotary Foundation. And we have 148 major donors and 6 Arch Clump Society members. And those are people who have given at least $250,000 to the Rotary Foundation. We have 61 people who have indicated to Rotary that they have included the Rotary Foundation in their wills. We know that there are others, and if you are one of them, let the Rotary Foundation know. When you are a Paul Harris Society member, a major donor, and a Bequest Society member, you have the distinction of Triple Crown donor. These are things that we can be very proud of. And every single one of those donors has a story to tell about why they begin to donate to the Rotary Foundation and why they continue. We've been very intentional at the district level to honor the generosity of our members, but not everybody attends the district events. So what can we do better in our clubs to honor our own club members for doing good in the world, and also give our communities the opportunity to be more aware about what we're doing and give them the opportunity to participate. Past District Governor Bob Sharkey from Hood River is our TRF Endowment Chair, and he has also recently taken on the Paul Harris Society and the Donor Recognition Chair position. He is coming to us from the White Salmon Bingen Pod, and he's going to share a few of his ideas on inviting community members and donor recognition. Bob?
I need to know which region he's in so I can spotlight him.
He's in White Salmon Bingen Pod.
Can you see me, Renee?
We're working on it.
Is it West Columbia?
Okay.
You're in White Salmon Bingen, aren't you?
Yes.
Which club is his name?
To start
He's
talking.
in Hood River Club at.
What's your pod? What's his pod? Ask him what his pod.
What is your pod?
WSB Rotary.
There we go.
There we go. Hey. Okay, Renee, you had asked me to talk about the Rotary Foundation, but to also include something about membership and something about public relations, how we could marry all those three things together. I'll start with public relations. I think public relations is not something you just do every once in a while. It should be something we do 52 weeks out of the year. Pick the medium that you think is going to be best for your club. Is it going to be social media? Is it going to be print? Is it going to be something on radio, or all three? It doesn't matter. If we want to make an impact in our communities, people have to know who we are. And that's the only way we're going to do it. If you're going to do this, you have to have a story you're going to tell. Fortunately for us, the Rotary Foundation is a terrific story. We have 7 avenues of service. I would propose that as a club, you can do something with your members and the community by making a special event. One time during the year, we're going to ask people to nominate people in our communities who represent one of those 7 areas of focus. And then we're going to have a special event to honor them. And how do we do that? We make them a Paul Harris Fellow. After that, we're going to have an article in the newspaper that tells our local people, our local population, what we just did, who we honored, how we did it. How does all this tie into membership? Well, first of all, you have to have that story to tell. We talk a lot about membership as the ask. We are going to ask somebody. I know people in my club who are very good at that, and honestly, I am not. And a lot of us are not very good at the ask. I am very good at the answer. And what I would propose is that when we put things into the newspaper, list every member who's in your club. The implied message here is, you know some of these people. They're your friends, they're your business associates. You don't know that they were in Rotary, but if you want to find out more about Rotary, if you want to find out something about membership, ask them. They would be very happy to invite you to a meeting, and you can come as their guest. And that is how we're going to get some new membership. That's my 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Bob. I appreciate that. That's a great idea to honor members of our community. So we're going to break into our pods in a few minutes, but I wanted to give you a few other ideas to kind of spark your conversations. He talked about a special event to honor community members, but we should also have regular donor recognition events. And those can be special club meetings, they could be a picnic, a dinner, a dessert. The Forest Grove Daybreak Club honors their donors every year when they do their officer installation. The members are there, family members are there, community members are there, and those members of the community that have received honorary Paul Harris Fellows from that club are also in attendance. The Forest Grove Noon Club hosts their annual community crab feed, and they do their donor recognition in that place. Bob talked about sharing the stories of TRF, and I talked about earlier how every one of those donors has a story to tell about why they donate. Ask donors to tell those stories at those events or in your club meetings from time to time. When members achieve a new level of donation, honor them in front of their peers, in front of your club. It's a public thank you, but it also can inspire those who are either not giving yet or could be encouraged to increase their giving level. Talked about inviting the representatives of the district to attend. That happens at that Forest Grove Club. And also, it reinforces the value of the gifts to the Rotary Foundation. I happen to know that District Governor Steve just attended the Camas Washougal Club and presented 14 Paul Harris Fellows, and 4 of those were to family members that had been gifted by members of the club. Share that donor recognition, whether it's your social media, your website, your press releases, and tell those Rotary stories in those press releases as well. The point of all of this is to create new or greater commitment to Rotary and to the Rotary Foundation. So don't forget to make the ask. Past District Governor Mike Caruso tells of when he became the TRF chair of his club, and they were having trouble at the time meeting their giving goal. At the time, they had 6 Paul Harris Society members, and by the end of the year, they had 16 because he asked. You can provide incentive for giving, and Paul Harris recognition points are a good way to do that, to maybe match the donation of an early giver to encourage them to keep giving. That may come up in your discussions, and if not, ask your TRF chair about that. It's a good way to offer incentive. So now we're going to review that pod question. Whoops, I went too far. There we go. How can we share the stories of our donations and our donors to TRF and donor recognition to help engage current members, expand our reach into our communities, and attract new members and partners, increasing our impact? So we're going to have 10 minutes in this pod, and be sure to have your scribe record into the chat and record your individual responses into the Slido. When we return, I would like you to present a 30-second report of your best idea. Please raise your hand in the participant box, and we will call on you in turn. Please be respectful of that 30-second time limit so that all of those who do want to share have the opportunity to do that. We'll capture all of that additional, deeper information in the Slido and in the chat. So see you in 10 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. We've seen a lot of comments in the chat and also in the Slido. That's new to me too. We do have one hand raised in the participant box, and it looks like Terry Hatfield would like to share. Terry, can you give us your 30-second best idea? And unmute yourself, please.
There's a lot here that can unpack. Oh, yeah. You're fine. Go ahead. I'm sorry. No. Let's let him.
Go ahead, Terry. Okay. I think the best idea that we wanted to share was to make sure that we communicate to our members the difference between the Club Foundation and TRF, and what your donation to TRF, how it comes back to the club and how it affects all of our members.
Hey, Terry. Southeast region.
Yes. All right. Hold on one second.
Sir?
You did?
The audio, so it'd probably be better if we just talk to her. Oh, wait, hold on. Just need to, you need to.
All right, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, sorry, we had some technical difficulties there. So I think one thing that we talked about was figuring out how to make sure that TRF and the projects that are done through it are relevant to each of our club members, and finding a way to highlight that when we go into our club meetings, maybe tell different stories, show off different projects, do things like that so our membership can see how broadly TRF impacts the world.
Very good, thank you. Looks like next up is the Eastern region.
Hey,
Well, that's the one I see next. Yes.
Okay. So our idea was to use the Rotary Moment each week as a time for our TRF chair to share individual stories of not only donors or recognition, but how those dollars come back, like others have talked about. So just being intentional about scheduling time each week to keep it visible and inspiring to members.
I like that word, intentional. It doesn't just happen, you have to plan for it. Okay, let's hear from Clark County.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Well, are we there?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So Clark County, can you hear us? Yes. Okay, we're here. All right. Our club, we do Paul Harris circles. We have 4 club members that each give $200 a year, and the club donates $200 to get us to 1,000. And one of the 4 members of each circle gets to award or recognize somebody with the Paul Harris circle. In 4 years, everybody in the club does it, or in the circle gets one.
Very good collaboration.
And we have 12. We have 12 circles. Well, 13. We've got 12, 13 circles.
12 or 13 circles?
Yes, of 4 members each. Everybody gives $200.
Okay. And that not only does collaboration, but it also brings those members closer together because they're working together for a common goal. Very nice. Salem.
Thanks, Renee. I want to talk about I want a particular activity. What we did was we got a big trash can, one of those 33-gallon trash cans, and a basketball hoop that you put on back of a door. Set it up at a meeting. Did our TRF presentation, and then put some lines out, gave everybody a piece of paper, and on that piece of paper, they wrote down their pledge for the year. And depending how far away they were if they made the shot, the club would donate 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the points. And we raised $8,000 in about 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It was an incredible activity. Didn't take long, and everybody thought it was great.
Super, super. I don't see any other hands raised. Are there others who would like to share? Okay. Well, look at a few of those Slidos that came through. Make time in meetings, publicize good works, giving circles, don't assume everyone knows about Rotary, and take credit. One of the other questions that had shown up in the chat box was just knowing what the foundation does and be able to tell about, as Terry said, money coming back to our district. What is that money going for? And those things are that you can learn in other TRF trainings, and we're focusing today on just how to publicize those things. Okay, I don't see any other hands raised. I do? Oh, okay, good. Who have we got? Oh, the Berg. Go ahead.
All right, we have a lot of Newburgh here. It is unmuted. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, we're the Berg, Newburgh and surrounding towns. So we covered a lot of territory, but by and large, we want to share. We need to be intentional about sharing the impact of where the Rotary Foundation money goes and where our local money goes. We also need to share internally. A lot of our club members don't know what TRF is. They're either new or we haven't engaged in making everybody aware of the impact of the Rotary Foundation, how much of the money comes back to us for local gigs, as well as influences and leverages international gigs. We also want to make sure the community is aware of the impact of our dollars spent. So people aren't so much wanting to promote that they're part of the Paul Harris Society. They want more to advertise our impact and how we're making a difference in the world. We need to intentionally educate.
And that would be a great segue to our second segment. But I do want to say that there are those that had said in the pods and in the chat that they want to know more about the Rotary Foundation. We have Rotary Foundation Month coming up. And there are several people who can talk about different aspects of the Rotary Foundation, from donor recognition to where the money goes, to the levels of giving and how you can give, like in Rotary Direct. And then on the other side, how we do the projects. The International Service Committee has 3 or 4 people who would come and do a program for you as well. So you have options. Another one of the things that we saw in the chat was to have during Rotary Month, Rotary Foundation Month, or any time, have a monthly TRF moment where you give someone the opportunity to either say why they are donating, tell their Rotary story as to why that's important to them. And another thing that came up is that we do need to be respectful of those who wish to remain anonymous. We're talking about ways to get Rotary stories out into the community and inspire people to want to participate with us. But we do have donors who would prefer not to have anyone know how much they're giving or even that they are giving. So just be respectful of that. Does that raise any other questions from anyone? If you want to raise your hand or share something. Okay. Then we are going to move on to segment 2. The question is very similar, except now we're going to share the stories of our TRF-funded projects to expand our reach, increase our impact, engage current members, and attract new members or project partners. You may or may not be aware that now global grants require the participation of at least 5 clubs at $1,000 each. And this encourages collaboration between the clubs, but it also gives opportunity to clubs with smaller budgets to participate in international projects. Tammy Kaufman from the White Salmon Bingen Club comes to us today by pre-recorded video. She is leading the multi-club Najajali project, which is teaching employment skills to teen mothers in Kenya. Brandon?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your weekend to participate in this Vibrant Clubs workshop. It truly shows your dedication and passion for Rotary, And our goal is to help you enhance that and make an even bigger impact. Through the Rotary Foundation, we have an amazing opportunity to work with clubs around the world to advance peace, understanding, and goodwill by improving health, education, the environment, and alleviating poverty. Global grants such as the Najjali Project are a team effort. Your team will include many partners, and great communication will help in your project's success. We all start this journey with an idea, something that sparks our passion for service. There's an opportunity to engage your club's members, sharing your thoughts and asking them to participate in developing the project. This is the heart of a vibrant club, one that taps into your members' energy and talents. As you can imagine, working with a club in another country where the language and culture are different can be a huge challenge. But what we all speak is Rotary. We all can increase our impact by tapping into local knowledge and building relationships with people and organizations on the ground. Working together to establish your goals and developing a plan for how you promote your grants will help clubs with outreach that inspires more organizations to join. I get really excited about this because with the Najjali Project in Kenya, we put this process into practice and it works. An idea was first brought to us by the host community. We set up several international calls to talk about the needs on the ground and learn more about the clubs in Kenya. The Bungoma Magharibi Rotary Club, they caught our fever and they jumped on board to make this reality. Their enthusiasm has been infectious, and they're a wonderful example of a vibrant club. They're a new club, just a few years old, and through this project, they have brought on at least 6 new members, and they've inspired several other professionals engaged in the project to join Rotary in clubs where they live. Our public image teams in both countries have been essential to getting the word out about the project and sharing the good work that Rotary does around the world. Because of these efforts, we've received unsolicited donations, but more importantly, people have been drawn to talk to us about how they can participate. This opens the door. It welcomes community members into our Rotary family and expands our reach. So my final words of advice, don't be shy about Rotary. Be proud of what your club is doing, whether it's local or international. Shout it from the rooftops, write stories and submit them to your local papers, post information on your social media and your websites. But most importantly, invite people to be a part of what you're doing. Not everyone that you invite will become a Rotary member, but they will become your ambassador. So good luck, everyone. I hope you have great conversations today about what your club can do to inspire participation and create an even bigger impact locally and around the world. Thanks and goodbye.
I'd like to thank Tammy for preparing that video for us from her new home in Pennsylvania and participating with us today. It's easy to see how important clear and engaging communication can inspire your own club members, other clubs, other organizations, and even other international organizations to participate in our projects, making them even better than we originally imagined. So district grants, can I have the screen back? District grants can now be used for local or international projects, but dollars go farther and impact grows deeper if we're able to engage our local businesses and nonprofits and get the word out to the community about what we are doing, so that they are aware of the value of Rotary in their community. And I want to tell you a little story about how all of that worked together for an award-winning project in our district. The Forest Grove Daybreak Club received the Dick Ellicksman Award for Innovation at our One Rotary Conference in Seaside last spring. But this project is not only a great example of innovation, it's also a great example about how a well-planned project, together with a district grant, can engage the members, but can also share with the community how valuable Rotary is to them. Through the spring and summer of 2020, this club was busy purchasing food from local farmers who had lost their markets, delivering it to local food banks for distribution to families who needed it. Mitch Taylor was the president of the club at the time, and he had built relationship over the years with the local newspaper who covered this story. So through that partnership, word of mouth, and as you can see, several relevant posts on their Facebook page, they were able to extend that project and reach farther into the community for additional partners. Their initial investment was $2,500, and with a $2,500 district grant, they were able to, this project grew to a value of over $36,000 with participation from the Forest Grove Foundation, including donations from individuals designated for this project, through the City of Cornelius, and also a local nonprofit called Adelante Mujeres, dramatically expanding the reach of their project. Club members loved this project, and some even said it was the best project that they had ever done. Past President Mitch said he did make one mistake. He did not farm out any of the volunteer experience outside of the club members. But that was intentional. He wanted to make sure that every member had the opportunity to help, and they did. We can certainly say that this project enhanced participant engagement. And although he couldn't say that any of their new members joined because of this project, some did say they joined because they knew this club does a lot for the community. So now you've heard a story of a global grant and a story of a district grant. And so as we break into our pods, this is our question. How can we share the stories of our TRF-funded projects to expand our reach, increase our impact, and engage current members and attract new members for project partners? Again, make your individual comments in the Slido and your group comments in the Zoom chat, and we will come back for your 30-second reports in 10 minutes. See you in 10. Welcome back. I hope you had some good discussions in your pods. I'm looking for raised hands of those who would like to share their 30-second best idea. And it looks like the Eastern region is up first.
There you go.
There.
Hello, everyone. Our idea was to make sure we're maximizing the promotion of what the foundation is doing, especially through global grants. A lot of times our clubs get requests for, would you like to contribute to another club's global grant project? So even if we aren't doing an international project this year, but we give $1,000 to another club, we need to take that information about that impact and make sure we're sharing that locally through local media outlets, posting to our social media, et cetera, so that folks in our area recognize that our club is contributing on an annual basis to something that's much greater than what they would otherwise know we're doing.
You are absolutely correct about that. If you are contributing to a global grant, you are part of that global grant. And that's one of the reasons that we had changed that so that at least 5 clubs need to participate in each global grant, because your club may not be prepared either financially or with the skill set ready to take on a global grant of your own. But you certainly can participate and shout it from the rooftops. Okay, let's hear from the Southeast region.
Terry's up.
Terry? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, we talked about getting our story out to the public, and give kudos to Stu Martin. He came up with a tagline: real people, or excuse me, real local people solving problems, building community, period. Join Rotary.
Very good. Very good. That'll get some questions going from people. How do we get involved with you? Okay, we got Southeast region. Stephanie.
We talked about that we've all kind of participated in a global grant by just giving, but we haven't really initiated a lot of ours. So we had a good discussion about maybe doing a global grant where all of our regional clubs got involved. And that way we could advertise out to our community and let people know about the good that TRF is doing. And we talked about doing maybe something around an environmental impact, as that seems to be a big draw to our younger members and younger community members right now. And hopefully that could reach out as part of what TRF does.
Mm-hmm. That's our newest area of focus. Thank you for mentioning that. And that idea of collaborating. There are 2 clubs in our district that actually have a combined, they call it the Joint International Service Committee, and it's the Sherwood Club and the Newburgh Early Birds. And they've been working together for over 10 years and have a club in La Plata, Colombia, that they have partnered with for all of that time. And when you talk about contributing to a global grant, that's one thing. But when you are a contributor, be involved in the grant as well. There's always things that you can do. Maybe it's paperwork, maybe it's helping with the community assessment, maybe it's helping with the grant application. And we have coaches now that will help clubs that want to do global grants, because there's a lot of accountability required in a global grant, and so there is paperwork and there's a lot to do, but we have people who can help you do that. I applaud you for considering bringing your region together to help with the grant. Okay, let's hear from the Salem region.
We had several conversations, and every time the thing about bringing in people to speak to us about things that were happening. But if you turn that around, we're thinking perhaps one of the ways to raise awareness of what we're doing is to essentially form a speakers bureau inside of our club to go out to other organizations and tell them about Rotary and the projects that we're doing.
Very good. Very good. That's a great idea, because we do partner with other organizations. That Nadja Jolly project that Tammy was talking about earlier, the Seroptimists are participating in that project. And the same kind of a thing. They went out and told them about the project, and they said, yes, we want to be involved. Very good idea. Who's next? The Berg.
Yeah, we are the Berg, otherwise known as the Center of Excellence for Club Collaboration.
I applaud you.
So Newburgh and Sherwood are here, and they bring in the La Plata Columbia Club. And next month, they're going to share that story with the Wilsonville Club. So we understand that gig and figure out how to lean into that model. So we talked a lot about club-to-club collaboration. We also talked about the need for permanence. For instance, the McMinnville Club has plaques in a couple of areas, including a soccer wall, where people see on a long-standing view of the world, we're out there doing things, and you don't have to refresh your Facebook page. There it is. It's on there for any kid that goes into the park and their parents. We also talked about the need for other partners. So there's other service organizations in our region that we partner with for our service gigs, and they make our job easier because they take care of half of the connection to the need and the like, but they also advertise for us. Their whole network hears our story, and our network hears their story. And we can draw some of those folks into our club too. So that's our story.
Absolutely. Great ideas. Okay, do we have others? Suzanne. Oh, no, do we have somebody else queued up? Okay.
Hi.
I can't see everything all at once sometimes.
No problem. So I'm the speaker of the remote pod group. Everybody said how important it is public image, and the next session is about public image, about telling the story, about reaching out in different forms and shapes, and we talked quite a bit about that. But the two other things that I want to quick mention in 30 seconds is one is we talked about the importance about explaining TRF and the impact, not just that TRF has internationally, but also locally. And a lot of people are focused more on local giving, but TRF giving has such an impact. We talked about the grants and all that. So I think that story is definitely worth mentioning. And the final thing I think that we mentioned is how important it is to have a very passionate TRF leader in the club, because there's so much to it, so much to understand, from the grant process to public image to telling the stories, etc. It's a big job that somebody really needs to know what they're doing, and just having it, kind of underlying somewhere, that doesn't work. TRF is a big part of a club, of a group, and of the leadership of a club, and I think it's important to have the right passionate leader sharing that committee.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you talked about the need for good public image too. And the whole purpose of this session that we did today is that membership, TRF, and public image are completely interwoven. Just like this little graphic that Brandon has put up on the screen for us. None of us stand alone. We are not siloed TRF, siloed membership, siloed public image. Maybe your TRF chair is wonderful at what they do, but maybe they're not a great spokesperson. Collaborate with that public image committee. The public image committee is always looking for things, looking for content to post on that Facebook page or to send out in a press release. And all of that affects your membership. So you're not working by yourself, you are working all together. Do we have any others? Let's look at the Slido. I do remember one thing that I saw in the Slido or the chat that I wanted to talk about. Oh, no, that's what it was. I wanted to talk about how we are all working together. Okay, we need report backs from successful global grants. Okay, there again, we do have a separate Speakers Bureau for international service, and we do have several people who would be happy to come and tell you about their projects that they are either working on or that have been completed. I know that the Laura Tilrico in the Newburgh Club has, two wonderful global grants going, and anybody would be happy to hear about that story. The International Service Committee Chair, which is yours truly, has a kind of an overview. I call it a celebration of international service, where it's not very deep on each of the projects, but very broad about what all of the clubs are doing, how they're collaborating together, and the impact, the unbelievable impact that District 5100, I'm sorry, it gets me a little bit emotional myself, 5100 has an incredible impact around the world in global grants. And anytime I have shared this story and these slides of what you are doing as in your international projects, people are just blown away. You might know what your club is doing, and I saw this in the chat too. We'd like to know what other clubs are doing. This would be the program for you, and it is amazing what you have accomplished. That was a little bit off track. Okay. Any other comments or questions that we need to address here? I saw one other one in the chat that I do kind of want to address, and it's kind of a general question, and it's come up more than once. How do you distinguish your club's foundation and the International Rotary Foundation? Because a lot of clubs do struggle with this. How do we let people know what the difference is, and why should you donate to both? And in our club, we have chosen to have, we always have Rotary Foundation Month, the Rotary Foundation Month, but we've chosen to make September Salem Rotary Foundation Month. And so we spend that month talking about how we get donations for our local projects, and some of those donations then end up in our international projects as well. We have stories of those people who have, or those nonprofits and groups that have benefited from the gifts that we have given and the projects that we have done for them. We highlight our donors for the Salem Rotary Foundation in that month. And then when we get to November, we highlight the International Rotary Foundation. Are there others who would like to raise your hand? What's that?
Questions in Slido.
Oh, we got questions in Slido. Okay, I don't see any response to that, but let's see this question. Is there a process to facilitate clubs sharing successful programs with each other so all can improve? Well, I think we talked about that a little bit with the combined district international service committees of the Sherwood and Newburgh clubs. There are other regions who could very easily get together and have a combined club or a combined committee, or if you are participating in a global grant that is being handled by another club, you can participate in their meetings, find out what it is that you can do. What are,
highlighted at the top.
Oh, he's highlighting the ones for me at the top. We're learning here. So, and even if you're not ready to participate, I'm sure that any club would be happy to have you sit in on their meetings and learn along with them. I will tell you that that wonderful Nadja project that Tammy Kaufman just told us about is their first global grant in maybe ever, but in at least a long time. They participated with the Portland Metro Rotary Club on a global grant that they were doing in Africa. They kind of cut their international teeth on that, and then when they were ready, they said, we can do a project ourselves. So do participate with other clubs and learn how to do it. Okay, what's next? That one's still showing at the top.
I don't see the other TRF ones.
Okay. If there are no other questions, I would encourage you, as I said, this wasn't meant to be a basic training in donations or how the matching grants work. There are I'm getting a cue over here, something I'm not supposed to forget to do. But there are trainings for those things, and I encourage you to look online in the Learning Center, look on the district website. There are some trainings there, and when they are offered, please participate in trainings in the spring training or the One Rotary Conference, however those are given. So we are going to take a 10-minute break before our next presenter, which will be Renee Fontenot with Public Image. But I did want to remind you, if you have not done so already, in the chat box, please record everyone who isn't in attendance in your pod, so we know who has attended today. Thank you so much for attending this session, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Once again, it's time to play One Voice Every Club, a game that tests whether you can identify the correct Rotary logo.
All right, welcome to One Voice Every Club. May the best team win. All right, let's get started. Question 1. Which item uses the correct logo?
The banner.
Oh, try again.
The mug.
Oh, I'm sorry. The correct answer is the website. Now, this club used the logo properly by including their club name with the master brand signature. We don't use that old rotary wheel anymore, and the rotary logo is never used as an object, like a bike wheel. All right, next question. Does this poster use the club logo correctly?
Yes, it's correctly branded.
No, I'm sorry. The branding is incorrect. Let's try again.
Yes, it's correctly branded.
You're right. Well done. Look how professional that poster is. You could tell that logo was created in our brand center. It uses the club name and Rotary logo in the proper font and color. A quick tip for all of you watching at home, always use your club logo consistently. It builds local awareness and global recognition. All right, we're almost out of time. Final question. Why is this the correct Rotary Club logo?
Because it uses the club's name with the Rotary logo.
You're right. Congratulations. You're the new champion of One Voice Every Club. Now that's all the time we have today. I'm your host, reminding you to retire those old rotary wheels in your branding. And when Rotary clubs use a uniform logo, everybody wins. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. And don't forget to visit rotary.org/brand center to create your club logo.
Welcome back. I'm Renee Fontenot. I'll be your host for this latter session this afternoon. I am here representing Public Image. If you can put up the slide. Thank you. I'd like to take a moment and thank our Public Image Chair, who is Diane Noriega. She could not be here today. I'm a member of the committee, as is past District Governor Renee Campbell, Brandon Peterson. Thank you. Karen Holton and Nelson Holmberg. I've got to take a moment just to say Brandon Peterson is the guy making all this fancy stuff work here today. He is our wonderkin in terms of technology. So thank you to the committee for doing this. Let's go ahead and move forward. I don't have the clicker. Sorry. And now to learn which side of this. You guys, okay. Excuse me. So let's talk about public image. And sometimes your club might call this communications. They might call it public relations. But public image gets down to communication. We've started this morning and we've talked about TRF and membership. But all these things come together. Membership. How are we going to grow membership? We have to talk about it. We have to ask people. We have to give them a reason why they want to be a Rotarian. TRF, the Rotary Foundation, why would people give? We need to educate people. We need to share with them our experiences, our service projects, what we do in our clubs, so that they get excited about it and want to join too. So public image, think communications. And when you think about communications, you think about talking, right? And to have a conversation, to communicate, there needs to be multiple people. But those people that you're speaking to are not always the same. And I want you to think about who your club needs to communicate with in terms of two fairly distinct audiences. You have internal audiences and you have external audiences. Your internal audiences are going to be your members and other Rotarians in our district, other Rotarians anywhere in the world, and our communications with them are going to focus around those things that we've talked about here today. Membership and TRF, about engaging,
retaining, and donating their time, donating their treasure. Our external audiences are going to be people in the outer public, people who are not yet Rotarians, which means that they might be prospective Rotarians. They might be sponsors or partners that we might engage for those things that we're doing grant work with and for our service projects. It might be speakers or other community members that we want to communicate what we do as Rotarians. Certainly schools with our scholarships and our youth exchange programs. It could be the students themselves, encouraging them to participate in the programs that we offer. And then there's all kinds of other organizations. But those will be external audiences who might not know who we are as Rotarians. So when you identify who your audience, largely internal or external, and then more minutely who within that, you need to say, what is it that they need to know? As Rotarians, we wear our Rotary pins, we recognize each other at meetings, we know who we are, and as such, part of that shared communication that we already have is understanding what Rotary is. And so we don't need to repeat that. However, when we speak to an external audience, they maybe have heard of Rotary. You hear that sometimes, have you ever heard of Rotary? Well, I've heard of it. What do you know about it? And they often don't have much to say. Well, I think they maybe cleaned up a park, or they have that clock in the park downtown, or a bench, or something like that. But they don't know that we're a service club. They don't understand what we do. So when you think about crafting your message, you need to think about, first, who is your audience? What is it that they need to know? So, what is Rotary? And then more specifically, what does your club do? All right, so yes, we're 1.2 million members worldwide. We're an organization with a 100-year history, but what does your club do? What makes your club unique? One of the things that was mentioned earlier, somebody said, well, how do we, in membership, how do we create our personality within our clubs? Well, hopefully most of you recognize what your personality of your club is, and certainly you know the projects you do well, the things that you spend your time and your effort doing. But who in the community recognizes that you're the group who's behind so many of those great actions? Right? So think about the contributions you make to your community specifically, as well as then perhaps at a global level. Think of how you impact based upon the areas of focus, right? Our 7 areas of focus. Narrow it down. It may be a specific project because not everybody's going to be interested in everything we do. But what's the thing that will interest them or that's interesting to them at the moment? If you're speaking to students, it may be the scholarships. If you're speaking to a community leader, it may be the economic growth. It may be the environmental impacts, our newest area of focus, right? So you need to match those with the audience. Some of the things we sometimes overlook is telling people where we meet and when. Now, some communities do really well in that as you enter the community, there's a sign, often called a gateway sign, the Rotary logo with your club meeting times. Meeting at Elmer's Restaurant, Tuesdays, 8 a.m. Okay? Something like that. Communicate who our speakers are. We have, roughly 48 meetings, most of our clubs, 48 meetings a year, probably at least 40 outside speakers. Some of those speakers would not just be interesting to our fellow Rotarians, they're interesting to a larger audience. So how can we communicate and share that information with others to invite them to some of our meetings to hear some of our speakers? And then mostly for our partners, for our sponsors, how can they get involved? So here's an example, and this will be your breakout. Here are some examples that I pulled from websites currently, things that are happening or that have happened recently. Some of you, clearly by the date, have not uploaded things more recently, but these were pictures I pulled from a variety of Facebook pages from our district. I want you to use this as sort of a starting point, but I want you to think about your own club. And in your pods, and I'm going to give you 10 minutes for this, then we'll come back and we'll share it collectively like we did before. But in your club, what is it that you do? What do you do well? Whom should you be telling that to? And what I want you to do is match your activities to the audiences. Activities to the audiences. So we'll take 10 minutes. You can answer individually in Slido, but I would like the Podmaster to put their report into the Zoom as well, please. So, thank you. Welcome back. I hope that you had some good conversations in your group. We're going to take a minute. If anybody wants to raise their hand virtually, we'll recognize you. I see Suzanne already has her hand up. Suzanne, what did your group come up with?
All right, so I think we will hear a theme here that everybody is doing a decent job, I think, internally, because we have so many different ways to do so, but external communication, and we heard it all morning, that's probably a way where we can improve. And we talked a little bit about, you know, the time commitment and all that, that it really needs a professional to really do PI correctly. And the great idea that came out of our discussion today was, why not? Because we're all struggling as clubs with finding that one committee or one person who does it right. So why not, as regions, to team up and to actually really hire a professional? It is a financial commitment, but there's so much at stake. So here in Clark County, we have 7 clubs. If we all pitch together and, you know, do a little bit of money and really have a PI company who helps us spreading the word throughout the region, that would potentially help solve our challenge with external communication.
I do feel
and
like
would bring the
pretty-
clubs together. We are, you know, we would be as a region, we would work together.
I think that's a great idea, Suzanne. I want to say your club did really well with internal communications for the number of people who signed up to be here today. So clearly an indication of your internal working well. Do I see Eastern region?
Go. Hello, no, you don't see us because our camera died, our apologies. But one of our ideas was, first of all, we love the idea of hiring a local media professional, but also just the structure that we already have in place and promoting each week who our speaker is going to be through social media, just so our community is aware of what we're offering in terms of content, and then seeing who all shows up just as a result of that.
I think that's a wonderful idea. We often wait until after our speaker's been there and tell them that they came, which is too late to get other people involved. Salem, oh no, the Berg, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Pat. Thank you. Every club has unique community events, unique volunteer projects, fundraisers, and international projects. A couple of the specific or interesting groups of people that we need to reach are prospective members, other service organizations, and club members, you know, internal communication, as well as their families. And then how we can do that, a couple of the highlighted things that we talked about were videos. Videos are long lasting, paying a professional, like Suzanne mentioned, to create the videos, but then also sharing personal impact stories. So a story that a member has of how Rotary has impacted their life could be shared on social media. Another thing that was mentioned is that social media, when you are on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, you're reaching different groups of people. And so knowing how to engage with them is important.
Very nice. Salem region.
Thanks, Renee. Mark Kellier, Kaiser. We came up with making print, radio, TV, and social media owners a part of the club, but more importantly, trading the event sponsorship for print and media, radio, TV, social media time. And particularly for radio sponsorships, in TV, they have public messages that they are required to put out, and what not better than put out something about Rotary.
Very good. Well, I think that's all the hands I see. Let's go ahead and move forward. And so this next section, which is sort of ties into what Newberg just shared with us and those personal stories of impact, right? And so it's telling our personal stories. People join Rotary, we saw in the beginning in the word cloud that the number one reason that we think, or thing that we think our clubs do best, is fellowship. And that's why a lot of us join and why we stay. It's why we retain members, because of that fellowship. So what does that personal communications look like? Well, one of the things would be to wear your Rotary pin. It would be something not just to wear at your Rotary Club meeting, but you should be wearing your Rotary pin every time you're going out. When you're going to the Chamber of Commerce meetings, which has been a suggestion throughout this morning that many of us should be more engaged with our Chamber of Commerce. When you're going out on business calls or whatever, wearing it to work. People will ask, what does that pin mean? And that gives you an opportunity then to give them an elevator pitch. We had the Story Slam competition last year in the district. Elevator pitch is a very short, 15, 30-second, might be a little longer in some cases, but it should be something that you should be able to say, much like we say the four-way test, something that you'd be able to answer easily that capsulizes what your Rotary experience means, what Rotary means to you, and more importantly, why somebody else might want to be a Rotarian as well. Having business cards, and yes, many in the district may have business cards if they've been a club president or something that is for them personally, but business cards that are simply shared across your club that are an invitation to come to lunch or breakfast wherever your club meets. One club earlier put in the chat that they also include a ride, that they'll come get the person and bring them to the club for the meeting. Wow, make it really simple for them to attend a meeting, right? So business cards, fairly inexpensive, easy thing to pass out. Rotary attire, and I do that as if I'm wearing my shirt, but Brandon's wearing his shirt today. Yes, Brandon, come model for us, right? Gary's got his shirt on, right? Here's your logo over there, right? So wearing the clothes that say Rotary, when you're doing a service project, the service vest that say Rotarians at Work, or a hat that says your club's name and Rotary on it. Those are personal communications. Because we join for fellowship, that means it's one-to-one relationships we're really trying to foster initially. Other kinds of personal communications can be those things such as newsletters and bulletins that are going out through email, right? Some clubs still have a print one that they might distribute on their table or in other ways. It can be your Facebook pages, because though it's an open to the public of your Facebook, it is somewhat personal. It's more personalized because it does come to their unique Facebook page. Online media, such as web pages, Facebooks, Instagram, and Twitter, though it takes some effort to set these up, there are tools out there that you can post in one and it'll post in the others. And you can post them up to a year in advance. Whenever possible, use a QR code, right? If you've had the district governor at your club so far, you should recognize this purple and green QR code. This QR code is the one that will take you to the district raffle for the print that our district, or that our RI president's brother created for Polio Plus to raise money. So always include the QR code in your communications to make it easier for people, right? For all of your branding, go to the Rotary Brand Center. We saw some examples earlier, all of which are up currently on websites and on Facebook that I pulled pictures. And what you might have seen is that some people have not read the Rotary Brand Center guidelines. There are templates, there are logos to download, and examples of how to create your club, over here, your club logo using the lockup, I'm sorry, directionally challenged, and using the new Rotary wheel, which does not have that blue in it. Our pins, our initial Paul Harris or Rotary Club pins do, and that's called a legacy pin. That's the one exception. Otherwise, we need to switch to the new branding. So let's talk about the elevator pitch, and this will be your breakout for this, and you can answer both in Slido as an individual and then in Zoom chat as a pod, and then we'll come back and we'll share some of those. But as you're thinking about your club, what are the things your club does well, right? And in your conversation starter, your elevator pitch, say a 10-second elevator pitch, who are you as a club? What do you do? And why should the listener be interested? And then, of course, how can they participate? And it may be as simple as come to lunch, come to breakfast, join us on Zoom, right? Always think about who your audience is. And so for an elevator pitch, you might have a couple of them. One would be clearly for prospective members, but you might also think about having slightly different, nuanced one for speakers, community, project partner, donors, and sponsors. During your breakout, I want you to think about the one that you would deliver personally to a potential member. And so think about who the audience is. And why are we going to listen? It's because you tuned into my favorite radio station. My favorite radio station, okay, it's the other side of the Mississippi, I know, but WIFM. WIFM, what's in it for me? Where I'm the audience. So always put that in the center of your elevator pitch. So we're going to take 10 minutes here, and then we'll come back like we did before and share. Put your responses in Slido individually or in Zoom collectively. Well, welcome back, everybody. I hope you had an enjoyable discussion. I was reading the chat. There's some great things there, but I see that Eastern Region is anxious to share. So Eastern Region, go ahead. Share with us what your group came up with. And Eastern Region, if you
okay,
there we go.
Here we are. Sorry for the unmute. We think it's really important to have your pitch line ready to go, and just starting with the basic, which is, hey, we're local leaders identifying and solving community needs, and then having an understanding of which avenue of service we're particularly passionate about, and being able to share that.
Very good. Suzanne, sorry.
So we didn't come up with an elevator pitch per se, but we came up with buzzwords that we feel need to be in it and can be tailored and customized to the audience. Doesn't matter if we stay in an elevator with a teenager or with a young adult or with a senior citizen. It doesn't really matter. So the words are the same, and the words are that we serve, we learn and develop, we work in our backyard as well as across the seas. It's about making connections and networking. So those were our buzzwords.
And that was the assignment, was to come up with those buzzwords, because for an elevator pitch, everybody's going to need to make it customized to them. What's comfortable for you to share, for you to say. So, and for your own club. Thank you, Suzanne. Please make sure you have that in the chat. Clark County, what would you like to share with us? Yes, hi guys.
We kept it really short. I like to say Rotary's a great place to do some good in the world and make connections at the same time.
Very good. It at least intrigues us to want to ask more. Is that Southeast region?
Okay. Well, we
Stephanie.
went through and we each put one sentence for ourselves, like one sentence that we would say to someone about why we're in Rotary or join our club. But I think I wanted to put out here just kind of what our theme was. And I think we all answered in some way that Rotary really gave us the connections to improve and better our communities and the world around us. And that was just the carryover theme in all of our individual sentences.
Wonderful. South Central.
So I was listening to Judy and Patrick talk here, and as they talked, I just wrote a pitch for them. So they wanted me to share that because they liked it. And it was just, are you interested in having fun, getting involved and feeling rewarded? Get connected with the movers and shakers in your local Rotary Club and find your fellowship.
Very nice, very nice. If you'll put that in the chat, and then we're going to share all the chats next week once we have time to put it all together. So all voices will be shared. Anybody else want to share before we move on? Here's the Slido that came up from here. So as you see, learning, service and friendship, giving back, fellowship and service were the most important things that came up often, okay, that came up together. We see on the side, we see leadership and service, we see fellowship, again, individually, projects, right? So many of us captured on or hit on many of the same things, but that fellowship and service. Fellowship goes back to the first cloud we had this morning was, what does your club do best? And the number one answer was fellowship. What's important to put in your elevator pitch? It's about the fellowship, right? And we've heard this before. We come together for various reasons why we may join Rotary, for networking, for service, but we stay because of the fellowship. That retention in terms of membership, it's because of the fellowship quite often.
The Berg has a response.
Oh, Newberg, I understand you have a response. Go ahead.
Yeah, it took us a minute to synthesize it. Yeah, we echo a lot of what's already been shared. But what we wrote down is local, regional, global community organization that changes lives through fellowship and service.
Very good, very good. And if you haven't already, please put that in the chat as well. So let's go ahead and move forward. And let's talk about communications to those external audiences and where we may more easily reach them when it's not one-to-one. And some of the obvious things are the out of home. And some of you maybe have used the yard signs that we had last year that everybody, all clubs got at least 2 of, right? Those yard signs have been particularly helpful for a number of clubs to draw new interest. I understand from the Tigered Breakfast Club that they have 2 new members as a result of those yard signs being out. And those are easy to put out in places next to your business where you meet perhaps. If you're having an event, a run or a concert, putting them out where people can see them during those events. I mentioned it earlier, the community signs, the gateway signs, those signs that are often the 30-inch Rotary logo that underneath says Rotary meets here, or, you know, and it gives the time. Those can often be placed at the beginning of a community, sometimes when you cross into the city line, or they might be near the place where you actually meet, or actually maybe at the place you meet so that people who go to that same facility see them. Billboards and bus stops are another option for those of you in communities that have public transit. Those are always good. They can get a little spendy. We often have district grants. I'm not going to promise next year because I don't know, but we usually have a PI district grant every year, and that might be something you could consider. And going back to what some have said about collaborating like Clark County does with a number of clubs, go in collectively and put it on a major road that is near where a number of clubs maybe meet. In print media, things to think about would be posters, flyers, and shingles, which is just paper things of varying sizes. Posters being the 14 by 11 or something larger, flyers are the 8.5 by 11, and shingles are when you take the 8.5 by 11 and cut it into multiple pieces. Passing those out, posting them in business. If you have a fundraiser and you're partnering with other organizations, or it's relevant to audiences that participate or go to certain kinds of businesses, ask that business if they'll post your flyer. Certainly members can have them on their countertops or in their business place, posted at the door, so when their customers come in, Rotarians are then in the facility and could answer the questions if anybody had any, but that's a good way to distribute it. Using letters and postcards, and I know that we've gotten far away from this, but a lot of people don't get the mail anymore so much that they're not, when they do get something, it means something special. And so having a qualified database and sending out a letter or a postcard, especially if you're trying to reach a business, that might be an important way to do it. Brochures or rack cards. Rack cards are those things we often see in welcome centers at the state lines and or in hotels. There are templates online that you can use. Again, going to the Rotary Brand Center. Communications such as newspaper, and a lot of places don't have the print newspaper like they used to, but you can still perhaps put articles into their section online. And it doesn't have to be an ad. When you're talking about radio, television, and newspaper, or other public communications, often those glossy magazines that are often in coordination with your Chamber of Commerce or other organizations like that, those can be written by your club members and then submitted. They may edit them. If you've got some nice quality pictures, that helps to get them in there. But in the community section of the newspaper or in the community publications. So it's not an ad, it's often something that they will print because they need the content. Radio and TV, again, public relations, write what's coming up, write them a press release. There are templates online that you can find to do that. So send them a press release in advance so that they can add it to their news stories, right? You might also check radio stations and television stations if they have an interview section of what's going on in your community. Get invited to be part of that program. Invite them when you have an upcoming fundraiser or when you want to talk about the scholarships and what you're doing. It needs to be something newsworthy and interesting, but develop a relationship, as has been mentioned earlier today, with your local media. In all of these things, make it easy for them to follow up. So use that QR code. I'm not going to point. You see it. Use that QR code whenever you can, right? And for all of the branding logo, go to the brand center. So My Rotary, Rotary Brand Center, You can find the brand guidelines. It'll give you fonts. It'll give you the colors to use so that you're consistent with the brand imaging. Downloadable images such as the Rotary logo, many options. It even has this year's theme, so the Imagine and the Imagine colors are there so that you can match it to our current strategy. Brandon has nicely put up the welcome to our Rotary Brand Center. We'll be sending you out information as a follow-up for more information on where to find things in the Brand Center as well. So there, in addition to having the logos and those things, they have promotional materials that you can download and customize for your own club. There's also videos. And putting videos in social media is a particularly powerful way to capture somebody's image. And these are professionally done. So as Suzanne mentioned earlier, hiring somebody to professionally make a video, we have some that are already created. Not specific to your club, but more general. So what I want you to do now is, here's an image of sort of a thinking tool for you to think about what tools your club needs to use better. And we see some of the tools here. How many of you have a club banner to put behind the speaker? How many of you are putting up this year's theme banner near the front of the podium, on the podium, someplace like that, for when you have a speaker, right? The next photo shows the town clock and a blue bench, and then there's one of our yard signs. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but these are some of the ideas, some of the tools that clubs are using. What I'd like you to share, and this can be in both Slido individually as well as in the Zoom, what are those things, which tools do you feel your club isn't using as well and could use more assistance on? Because we need that feedback. I want you to share in your group, maybe find some people who can give you suggestions for how they've used some of these tools. But as I said, we're going to answer your chats and your Slidos after the conference, and so we'll put this together. So you're really also helping drive us from the district. So we'll take 10 minutes here, and then we'll come back as we have before.
Just a reminder for individuals, we have the Slido open. If you want to put a one idea in there as well, you can. We have 13 responses so far on Slido.
Well, welcome back. And I see a lot of good information put in the chat. I will be answering much of those. Some of those are more than what I can answer right now. I'll be answering those through an email you'll get later in the week. We'll synthesize all of this and come up with links and things for you. So some good feedback there. Who wants to share from your pod? Suzanne, please.
Sorry, I raised my hand first, so then it's done and over with. So we have lots of things, and I will put it in the chat box as well. So a couple of things came up, and I already see, the yard signs and all that. Some help to really identify somebody who can update websites, the club websites on a regular basis, some help what needs to be updated and how they need to look. Facebook in general, social media, use the RS Brand Center more regularly. Have window displays for businesses to say, we are proud, or this business is owned by a proud Rotarian or something. So we really support our fellow Rotarians. And the last idea was that District 5100 Public Image Committee could potentially help on putting a list of promotional material together that is available through the district, but also that might be, the clubs might be able to help. So we had recently our club participated in it wasn't a membership drive, but it was a public walk where businesses promoted themselves, and we had a booth there as well. And we struggled a little bit, what material do we have? What should we have? What don't we have? What don't we know about? And it would be really helpful if district would just come up with a list of ideas. It's either available or that clubs could potentially use in different various settings, like a membership drive or open house or something like that. Or just as a club meeting, just have business cards there.
Go ahead, Berg. Newberg?
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All righty. Okay, well, our clubs are virtually right around the corner from each other. We're all real close. That's why we call ourselves the Berg. Because of that, we have a lot of things in common. And every time we get together, we learn something really cool that they're doing that we might do. So we need to share that more frequently. So we got a localization where we're going to each president's meeting each month, each president will share what they want to share with the rest of the clubs. And we'll do a regional newsletter that we'll now distribute to the presidents, and they include it in their club newsletters. That way our good ideas and our events, which we love attending each other's events, we just don't know about them. We're going to know about them through that. That's one thing we think we're going to engage in. It's a small step. It doesn't take a ton of technology, just some time. The other thing we really liked was Suzanne's idea about a consultant that helps us tighten up our elevator pitches and our strategies and our tools. We'd like to lean into that. So we're going to tie into whatever Suzanne's efforts are there at the district level and make it something that we can deploy here locally.
Let's go to the word cloud. So this was your word cloud. What is it you need the most assistance with? Social media, right? Social media. And one of the comments I saw in the chat was that we have the social media, it's keeping it up. And that's the important thing, is that social media, if it's last week, it's old news, right? It's the newspaper that's been thrown out. So you do need to have somebody who's dedicated, and maybe it's a team, creating a team in your club who is responsible for the first Thursday, the second Thursday, or whatever day you meet, right? Who are responsible for posting, right? It shouldn't be just one person by any means who's doing it in your club. So having a team who does that.
Can I give a shout out to Bilingual on there?
Yes, and Brandon would like to suggest that we, that's one of their, Bilingual radio. Ooh, that's a great, yes, thank you for catching that. Yeah, so there's some good ones in there. Yard signs, websites. Yeah, we're probably not doing enough to increase our diversity by not reaching out beyond English in this area. So yes, we will give you tools to help with these as we move forward. I want to be respectful of time. So Resource Center, I've mentioned it before, Brandon showed you the thing. My Rotary, Brand Central. Here are some of the things that you can find on under the title Our Brand. So there's the brand elements, logos and graphics, voice and messaging. In other words, when you're putting things together and if you're not sure how do we refer to things, use the voice and messaging. It'll help you. It'll help guide the language. Images and videos, which colors, the typography, which is the font that you use, right? We have fonts so that we're consistent. There is a whole section on people of action. So those of you who are interested in specifically for service and things like that, trying to find images and context for that. Then other things to help promote, websites, social media, public relations, speaking engagements, partnerships, advertising and merchandising. All of those things can be found on Brand Central as well. If you're not sure on how to use some of those tools, I want to refer you back to Reel, right? Which you can access through DACDB. There are many, many lessons, some of them relatively short and some of them a little longer, to teach us all sorts of skills. And so if you're not familiar with Reel, r.e.e.l, look through DACDB. And then we have the One Rotary Conference 2022 Public Image Planning Tool. We'll be sending that out as a post workshop with our collaboration information shared as well. So I'm Renee Fontenot. I've been your speaker for this section for Public Image today. My address is there, Diane Cordero de Noriega, sorry. She is the chair of that committee, and her email is there for your convenience as well. So yes, somebody put Reel through the district website. Is Rotary is also in Is Rotary for you. So multiple ways you can reach that information. So one last thing I want to say before I give it back to Gary, and that is a little plug for upcoming activities with Public Image. We are doing an audit. We have actually hired an outside consultant. We are doing an audit for our district of social media and web pages. Many of you in that first graphic that I had old graphics that need to be removed and updated. So check your information, but we should have the report for that by the end of December. And then other things would be in the Catch the Buzzed. Our district governor, Steve Williams' monthly newsletter. Diane Noriega will have a form for you to fill out if you want to order new signs, and I believe we're going to even have some new messages. We expect the cost, if we have enough orders, to be a little less than $7 each. Unfortunately, we don't have the funds this year to pay for them, but $7 isn't much of an investment per sign for your club to have. So thank you for spending time with us today. I'd like to bring Gary Stewart, our Director of Leadership and Development, back.
Great. Thank you, Renee, and thank you everybody for participating. It's been great to have the opportunity to work with you. I'm going to go through to get through the slides here. Just a couple of things to remind you of. You will be receiving an evaluation that will be sent to you from DACDB if you registered through DACDB. Please complete that the evaluation. That is going to give us guidance as to, is this a format that will work for you in the future as we bring training to you? Also, is this too long a time for us to be doing this, or should we be doing these in smaller segments? Those are the kinds of questions that we are going to be asking you. We've said it several times, we will be compiling all of the information that includes the PowerPoint. It includes all of the chat, and if there are questions that are asked in the chat that we have not had a chance to address today, we will be working to answer those questions before we send them back out to you, or we will also include links, whether it be through Brand Central or other activities, on how you can go and find that information. One of the other questions is there going to be a recording available of this presentation? And the answer is yes. We will be editing that together, and it will be put up on the district YouTube page. And we will be sending you out the links for that as well. So, what's it? Oh, there's one more Slido. What did you most enjoy about the Vibrant Club workshop? So if you could pop your ideas into the Slido there, that would be terrific, and we will continue to gather that. And what I would like to do now, Brandon, if we could go to that other camera, I would like all of our presenters to come up here so that we can do a thank you, kind of a behind the scenes here of how this all came together. And we're just thankful for the opportunity to be with you and be your servants, because we are servant leaders. And so thank you very much. Have a marvelous day, and we'll be in touch with you soon with details. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.